MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.
Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
Hello, I'm Mike Barry.
And I'm Bob Bluffield.
And together with Alan Mullion, we bring you The Grumpy Old Men on Saturday morning between 8 and 10. We take a look back at what's been happening during the week and let's just say discuss it.
Oh yes, we do play some good music as well. That's all here every Saturday morning between 8 and 10 on Seclo Sounds.
Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah. Love you more than I can say. I'll love you twice as much tomorrow. Whoa, whoa, love you more than I can say. Whoa, oh, yeah, yeah. I miss you every single day. Why must my life be filled with sorrow? Whoa, whoa, love you more than I can say. Don't you know I need you so? Tell me please, I gotta know. Do you mean to make me cry? Am I just another guy? Whoa, oh yeah, yeah. Love you more than I can say. I'll love you twice as much tomorrow. Whoa, whoa, love you more than I can say. Don't you know I need you so? Tell me please, I gotta know. Do you mean to make me cry? Am I just another guy? Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah. I love you more than I can say. I'll love you twice as much tomorrow. Whoa, whoa, love you more than I can say.
This is, of course, Bobby V, and more than I can say. And a very warm welcome to Seclo Sounds Community Radio from Milton Keynes. It's a Saturday morning. I'm Mike Barry.
I'm Bob Bluffield.
I'm Brian White.
And Alan's not there.
No, and our researcher this morning has gone AWOL, so he'll probably be here in a minute or two, having overslept or something like that. But jointly we are...
The Grumpy Old Men.
The Grumpy Old Men, indeed, exactly. We've got 2 hours here on Seclo Sounds where we take a look back at what's been happening during the week, etc., etc. And we voice, what I will say right from the word go, is our very own views on particular points. All right, nothing to do with Seclo Sounds. There's no, okay, they are all our own views. But we
or
do
any other organisations we're associated
any
with.
other association, that's right, yes. There are other political parties. And don't forget, of course, if you want to join in, our all you have to do is email radio@seclosounds.org, radio@seclosounds.org, and you can join in the debate on whatever we are talking about. Now then, I'm not really quite sure where to kick off this week. Because
We kick off with the Dons, don't we?
What
a wonderful result that was.
You
Do you
really
know-
understand.
I was there, yeah, it was brilliant.
What a wonderful night. History being made. But of course, Van Gaal is already making excuses, isn't he? Saying they were a bit lucky or something.
This really annoys me because, you know, if they had won 1-0, I would totally agree with them and say, yeah, they were lucky. Luck was on their side, you know. But
Well, the penalty came down as well, didn't they?
Thrashing.
Well, what was interesting, the first 10 minutes, you could see the difference in class with United.
That's
And
right,
that the Dons were really struggling. and I was quite relaxed. I mean, just to see the stadium full was a victory. If we scored, that was going to be brilliant. And when we scored, I thought, that's fine, doesn't matter when we lose. And then we scored a second goal. And I thought, oh, that's all right. And we've given up 2-goal leads in cups before, so I was quite relaxed. Well, it doesn't matter, it's United. Then when the third one went in, I said, am I going to wake up in a minute?
That's right.
Well, the super sub that scored, I have to note, was an Arsenal player on loan.
Well, two of that MK Dons side, of course, been called up for international duty for Northern Ireland.
That's right, which
And
is great.
we might actually win then.
Win a game.
Well, we're playing Hungary, and I'm used to Northern Ireland losing, so with 2 Dons players in there, and of course they may well win.
Well, not for Puskis anymore.
I think really it's done the world of good for not only the Dons but for Milton Keynes itself, because it's further put Milton Keynes on the map. I mean, not we need a lot of pushing on it, but
There was another bizarre game in the European Championships when a Bulgarian team played Steaua Bucharest, and the Bulgarian
Lukenrets.
goalkeeper got that's it. What's it called?
Lukenrets.
And their goalkeeper was sent off, and they didn't have a substitute goalkeeper, so a defender went in goal, saved 2 of the penalties in the penalty shootout, and they got through.
But he also scored one of them.
Yes, that's right. He took the first one himself, didn't he? Which is even more bizarre, wasn't it? But what an amazing performance.
what a fantastic character.
He was, You think you need things like that in the game, don't you?
I'll tell you, I was a goalkeeper once in a school
was I.
team, and I was so bad that at half time they swapped me over and made me the goalkeeper for the other
Really?
the other side.
So you won.
And I think it was a draw, 24 each or something. Because every time the ball came towards me, I'd turn me back.
Yeah. You've got to be mad.
Was that last week?
No. I wish it was, Brian, actually, because it was a long time ago. A long time ago. There you go.
I noticed, by the way, the sad news that the actor Bill Kerr has died at 92.
Wasn't he a member of Hancock?
He was indeed, yes. You're very right there, Brian. That's very good. I didn't remember him being on Hancock, but he was.
Oh, that's a shame.
He was in lots of things. The Navy Lark, was he in?
Something like that. He was on radio quite a lot. I know one of my mother's friends was a comedian, Freddie Sales.
Oh, no, that name.
And he was one of these people who, sometimes Morecambe wise, was very good on the music halls, but couldn't translate to TV. And he used to tell me about some of these amazing people like Hancock. And one of the people that he always used to talk about was Bill Kerr.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not a particularly unusual name like John Smith or anything like that. But
No.
I actually know 2 Bill Kerrs. One of them who's actually passed away, another one who's still alive,
Oh, right.
and now obviously when you mentioned Bill Kerr, and I suddenly thought, yeah, God, blimey, so.
But anybody under our age isn't going to know
No, Bill Kerr.
Oh no, who Hancock was?
exactly.
No.
Half hour.
Oh, Hancock, that was great, wasn't it?
Absolutely
That was
fantastic.
great.
Though.
Yeah.
Again,
But modern comedians are good as well.
Of course they are. Yeah, no, two ways.
I mean, one of the things about...
John Bishop, I think, is quite funny.
But you take there's a couple of people in Milton Keynes who
That's-
got off their backside, created a thing called the Comedy Cow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
now brings top-rate comedians to Milton Keynes. They've established a branch in Wales. They were at the Edinburgh Fringe putting on gigs there. And I think it's brilliant that 2 people who are teachers in Wolverton get off their backside, do something that's typical Milton Keynes spirit. And now we have these amazing comedians. We had Paul Sinner down from the Chase as one of the comedians.
Has he died?
Not that I know of.
Oh, I thought you said that when he died.
No, he came to
Oh, sorry,
the
yes.
mayoral
Oh, yes, that's right,
dinner last year.
Yes, that's right, yes. Yeah.
And he was brilliant. So, I mean, bringing these top-rate comedians to Milton Keynes is absolutely
It's funny, there
brilliant.
must be something about teachers, because a lot of comedians of the day were formerly teachers, weren't they?
Yes.
O'Connor, Tom O'Connor, he was a teacher.
Yeah.
He's a smashing bloke, Tom O'Connor. I've met him a number of times.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, actually, to be a teacher, you've got to be a comedian.
Well, I guess so. I guess I know quite a few comedians that are teachers, yeah.
Well, this is the sad
We
thing.
won't go there.
No, we won't. Let's move on to something which I find I cannot actually comprehend. I cannot understand it, and that is this Rotherham situation with these youngsters. 1,500, 2,000. I mean, is that just the tip of the iceberg, or what?
Yeah.
But the point that I don't understand is that this professor, a lady professor, has done a very detailed report. It's taken 12 years to get this report together. Now then, why is it taking 12 years for someone to suddenly turn up and say,
There's
we've
obviously
got
pressure being put to bear, I should think, isn't there?
I just don't understand that bit.
No, neither do I.
Well, you get a situation where somebody comes to see you and you hear the story and you just can't quite believe, and you think, are they exaggerating? What are they trying to do? Most of the time all they want is an apology and a rectification of the problem, to have somebody listen to them. But part of the problem is that when you start to challenge it, it's like you're challenging the whole integrity of social services, and a minor criticism becomes a wholesale attack. And so people become very defensive. The whole institution is around being very defensive, mainly because of the media criticism of them. You get very defensive people. And understand, because they get criticised whether they do or whether they don't. If they intervene and the media go after them, if they don't intervene, the media go after them. So they're in a no-win situation, social workers, and they do a brilliant job, but they're in very, very defensive. And the whole system is around how do we prevent this escalating rather than how do you deal with the problem.
I think that was very nicely put, actually, and I don't disagree with any of those sentiments, But again, the point is I can't get to grips with is the fact that this particular situation has gone on for so long. Admittedly, if something crops up today, then yes, and the social services, the social welfare people, they've got a terrible task on their hands to in the first case, actually, excuse me, believing some of these youngsters, because, I might touch on it a little later on in the show about some of the teachers. I mean, teachers are on a hell-bent hiding to nothing, because if a pupil decides they just don't like that teacher, we don't like Sir, so they go along and they say, Sir put his hand on my boob, or Sir touched me. Sir is immediately suspended. There's a big inquiry into it, and that guy's he's tarnished for life, really.
Or it's happened in one Milton Keynes kids, they lost their job.
Lose their job, exactly.
And then the kid said to the next head teacher, I got rid of the last one, I'll get rid of you.
Yeah, that's right.
But for every one of those, and that's what part of the problem is, there are hundreds who are genuine.
Of course there are.
And those are the ones who lose out.
Yeah, of course there are. That's right. But, I mean, it's surely to goodness me, the society should be able to get itself right. I'm not sure how to do it, but they should get themselves right so that, if a child does complain, or a teenager or even young adults or whatever, if they do complain, then there should be a system in place where that can be independently looked at very, very quickly and dealt with, rather than Mr. Plod, as has obviously happened in Rotherham, saying, well, she's a prostitute, isn't she? She's got to, that's right, I can't even get rid of the police and crime commissioner, but we'll talk about that later on as well.
But they're the same police force.
Clifford,
and the Hillsborough,
Yes, that's right. I mean,
and the miners in 84.
There's something radically wrong, I think, with that police force.
I think there is, actually, and I mean, again, we could go down all sorts of roads looking at it, because it's today, isn't it? And but as I say, going back to my original statement, this professor. And I forget her name is actually
Kay.
Kay, that's right, Professor Kay. It's taken her 12 years to actually get this report together.
But you think of 1,400 cases, and she had to look at each one of those.
Brian, she's
that comes later. Does it? In each case, it's the fact
there's 1,400 women. 1,400 women. Well, it's probably boys as well, but 1,400 people. It's probably going to double. I mean, I hope to God it doesn't, but it's realistically probably going to double, and that's going to be there's going to be a lot of people there that are going to say, well, yes, I was abused as a teenager, but I've got my life together now, and therefore I can't, I don't want to go through that all the court procedures and all the rest of it. So they won't even put their hand up. And
but then it goes beyond this, doesn't it?
Why does it take 12 years to do it?
But it goes beyond this because they then said that they were worried about being called racist over the Asian abuse of children up there, wasn't it, and young girls, and they wouldn't own up to that in case they got caught for that.
Well, the society's gone wrong, hasn't it?
It's gone mad, isn't it?
Well, again, one of the things you've got to be, it's that defensive mode. If you make a complaint, many people just felt that nobody would listen to them. And that's part of each authority needs a whistleblowing policy. Each authority needs...
I absolutely agree.
And that fear of upsetting your colleagues is very prevalent in a lot of organisations. And what I find is that Rotherham Council's been hit, but it's also the police, it's also the other agencies, it's also the other campaigning groups, etc., all of whom could have actually raised it far more than they did. And I think we've got real lessons to learn about how you listen to somebody saying help.
The thing is it just Rotherham? I mean, or
it's
again,
not.
Can it?
that's right. It can't be. I mean, I think
the specific crimes are purely Rotherham, but the systemic problem is right across the country.
Yeah. Well, it's right across the world, I think, sadly, isn't it? I mean, never mind the country, but it's...
some countries turn a blind eye to it, don't they? I was in Sri Lanka some years ago, and the Germans that had come in there to pick up the young boys, it was all going on at a hotel.
Well, it's the same as Thailand. You go to Bangkok, and I mean, it's absolutely disgusting because you get these fat old men, walking on down the street with a little 13-year-old girl in tow, I mean, it's just... I
don't know about there. You see it in Milton Keynes with the brides they brought back, don't you?
Well,
you go into the Thai restaurants on a Sunday and you see a lot of it.
Well, I don't know. I don't go into Thai restaurants, but
you don't.
No.
Well, you should.
Do you have to wear a tie when you go there?
No, Brian does.
That's okay. That's right. No, actually, he's looking very smart this morning. I must compliment him on his on his smartness.
I thought I was going to become a referee today at the Dons.
Actually, are you going to the Dons?
No, I'm not.
No,
they're playing Crawley at home.
Yes, I'm going a bit later on because it's Armed Forces Day for the Dons. The Dons put on an Armed Forces Day every year. Bless them. Thank you very much to them as well. And they donate money to the Forces Benevolent Charities. And this year's the Royal British Legion that they're going to donate to, so it's very good.
Good. And did you meet Pete Winkelman after the game, by the way?
No, I didn't.
Because he was ecstatic, wasn't he? As you can well imagine, he's done so much, hasn't he?
I think one of the things that I thought was a lovely phrase, but he built it, they came, we won.
Yeah.
I think that sums Tuesday night up.
Yeah.
That's right. It's moved on from his sort of can-do terminology or phraseology, wasn't it? Because, I mean, Pete was always a sort of can-do. In Milton Keynes, if you want it, you can do it.
And we did.
Well, we did, that's right. So I love some of the cartoons and that sort of thing afterwards, about the win over Manchester. But there we go.
Did you see that woman who went to put a bet on Manchester United winning 4-0?
Yes, got it round
and
the wrong
got it
way.
round the wrong way.
Really?
Yeah.
And said MK, and she won some 1,200
quid. Yeah,
Is it all?
Yeah, she put a tenner on
penny.
it.
it was £2.50 she put on.
Oh yes, it was 150 to 1 or something, but it was fantastic. Anyway, gentlemen, can we just go back to this crime and police crime commissioner, because it's an elected post and therefore they cannot be sacked.
But you know whose idea it was? One of the people whose idea it was?
No, go on.
This guy Carswell, who's just switched to UKIP.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
He's one of the lunatics who came up with
Is
it.
he really?
Well, I would totally agree with you there on that statement as a lunatic. But the point is, these people. Well, I'll even withdraw the word allegedly. I don't care. These people who are elected, and all right, I know they're elected, but the election is a farce in itself. Because I don't know what was the turnout here, Brian, in Milton Keynes or in Buckinghamshire.
It wasn't very much.
It was 3% or something.
But it was 10% in the by-election a couple of weeks ago in the West Midlands.
Yeah. Yeah, 10%. 10% of people could actually get off their butts and go along and vote for something.
I voted.
Well, yeah, I don't think I did vote actually for the police commissioner. But it's an unsackable position. This guy's going to hang on to it because aside from anything else, if he probably won't be re-elected, and another thing that's democracy. If people want to re-elect him, then they do. But if he hangs on, then he's entitled to a very nice pension.
But it's part of the Americanisation of Britain.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think, and it's people who are anti-Europe look to America and they bring in these American systems, and I don't think they work here.
I'm absolutely, well, I totally disagree with you there, because I want to see the day when we have the American situation where you elect your local police chief, your local fire chief, and when I say local, I mean local. Like, we elect the guy who is going to be in charge of Milton Keynes Police. All right, I know Jez is coming and he's a good old boy, but I think if he's elected for Milton Keynes, a police and crime commissioner for Buckinghamshire,
Well, it's worse than that. It's actually Thames Valley.
Well, it's worse. It's Thames Valley.
Yeah, it's a funny area, isn't it?
And that covers 5 or 6 different.
Which means that only one
counties,
party can nominate, because the majority, Thames Valley will always be a Conservative majority, which means that whoever the Conservative Party put forward is most likely, except in very, very exceptional circumstances, to be the police commissioner.
Yeah, but I'll reverse this around the other way, because there is a case at the moment, and the police commissioner, who's a Labour guy, has actually appointed 3 assistant commissioners who are all Labour guys as well. And that's been put up to the police commissioner.
Our police commissioner has appointed a Tory councillor from Wickham.
Yeah, well,
as his
that's right, But it's I totally disagree with that setup. What I do agree with is the fact that if you elect locally, all right, and I stress that, I put it in capital letters, locally, so that we have got a police chief in Milton Keynes, and we all our money and that goes to the police force in Milton Keynes, and we elect a guy.
But we don't have a police force in Milton Keynes. It's actually a problem, Mike. We have a police force for Thames Valley.
Yes, but we should still be able to locally elect our chief of police, who comes from the police, or not necessarily comes from the police, but who is a person who will lead the police force in Milton Keynes. Whether the police force is allied to Thames Valley or the Metropolitan Police or a national police force, I couldn't care less. Same with the fire brigade and everything else, because if these people do a good job, then they'll get re-elected. If they don't do a good job, then we don't elect them again. It's like, the fire chief, this guy, what's his name, Jones or whatever? Mark Jones, yeah. Obviously a very competent man, because he's been promoted up into that position. But, there's the debate as to whether or not he's doing the right thing, where he's denying the strikers who go out on an hour's strike or whatever, their pay for that shift. And again, that's a separate debate, as it were. But if he was our elected fire chief, then we democratically could actually make our own minds up and say, right, okay, what this guy is doing is actually wrong in this particular instance. I believe it's wrong, and therefore when he comes up for re-election again, I go and I vote for Brian White as the chief fire officer, and get rid of the other bloke, see? So
get your hose, huh?
I knew there was something I hadn't done.
Well, actually, I should have said Alan Mullion, actually, because he's gone AWOL this morning.
He's fighting a fire.
You've not heard from him?
Yes, he probably is. He's probably got a massive hangover or something.
So we went on a bender last night.
We forgot, didn't we? This is it. He probably doesn't want to come in this morning because of the weigh-in. So you better give the results. Could you give the results out without naming who put on?
I haven't got them here at the moment.
All right. Well, we'll get them a little later. Get them a little later on the show.
We wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But talking about another reason he's probably not in is because in part of their manifesto, the Lib Dems for the next election are saying about increasing the paternity leave, aren't they?
Well, I think
that's a good
idea. I think the government that brought that in wants to be shot, really. I mean, I brought up 2 children. Without any paternity leave whatsoever. Yeah, I went to work.
Did, yeah.
And I mean, it's
getting a farce, isn't it?
No, it's not. And
you don't think so?
No, I don't. And I think it is about recognising that parenting is about 2 people, and that
poppycock. Absolutely, yeah. Of course, it's bringing them up. And
the
father should go to work.
And I think paternity leave is a good idea. And I think it was appropriate to bring it in. And I think there is a very good debate to be had about what length that should be. And I have no problems with having that debate.
It's not when you're a small business, it causes all sorts of problems.
This is the thing, isn't it? If you belong to something like, and I worked for BT for 10 years, I mean, they could have put half of the staff off there for 6 months maternity leave, and nobody would have noticed.
What about the army? We don't have nobody left, would we?
Don't know. Well, this is it, isn't it? Well, the next thing in
We
the
haven't got
army.
many left now.
Well, we haven't. No, that's right.
Talking of which, we're on. They've increased the security level, haven't they? Britain faces the greatest and deepest terror threat in the country's history. David Cameron warned as he pledged emergency measures to tackle extremists.
Well, I find it very strange that every time they want to change the law, they up the terror level. Now, call me cynical, but I think that part of that is not because there's an increased security threat, because they haven't got any specific information, as Theresa May admitted last night.
So they say,
but I
but
think
we
it's to
know
create
this.
the climate whereby those amendments in the law go through Parliament without any problem.
You're an old cynic. That's the trouble. And you've been there in Parliament as well. So we've got to bow to your integrity there. But
I was like that before I went there.
Insider information.
But yeah, I really do. I mean, I get very cynical with the way governments use security threats, and that's not to say that there aren't security threats. There are, and we need to be vigilant. And I have no problem with the security services doing some of the things they need to do to protect us. What I do have a problem is the way we use security threats in the media in order to create a climate whereby we rush through legislation which isn't properly thought through. And there was a lovely old phrase, we lose our liberties one reasonable decision at a time. And I fear that we will lose another set of liberties that we will struggle to get back simply because of a knee-jerk reaction that the government doesn't actually think it will get through the security measures it wants without creating the climate, and that's what they're doing.
I sincerely hope what you're saying is correct, but I doubt it very much, because I think when the government does put out these warnings, and the fact that Theresa May said, we've got nothing concrete at the moment, is an absolute load of rubbish, because they have got something.
I agree with that. Yeah,
they've got stuff, but what they're not saying, is they're not saying, that the next flight back from Syria, is going to be full of jihadists who are going to poison our reservoirs and blow up shopping centres and maim and kill people, because I think, unfortunately, regrettably, we've got to wait for that to happen, and I think waiting for that to happen is what we're in the situation we're in at the moment.
But one of the things I also think is that we are focusing on Islamic State, but there are threats from other organisations with different cultures, and from the right and left, that actually we ought to be focusing on as well. And it's too easy at the moment to say they're the enemy. And one of the things, history since the Second World War, is we've always had an enemy out there, whether it was the Soviet Union or whether it's other things. At the moment, it's Islamic State. And we need to make sure that our security services are accountable and we're not just giving away liberties for the sake of it.
Yeah, we talked about this last week on the show, didn't we? Though, and we said that the security services should be accountable to us all and everything else. Well, they can't become security services then, can they? But however, it's 27 minutes past 8 o'clock here in Milton Keynes. You're listening to the Grumpy Old Men with me, Mike Barry.
Me, Bob Bluffield.
Brian White.
Yes, the 1980s are back.
Hi, I'm Dave and I play the music from the 1980s.
Hi, I'm Charlotte and I play the music from the 1990s.
Classic 90s grooves.
So join us each and every Saturday between 10 and midday.
The double decades on Seclo Sounds. Seclo Sounds.
MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
I try and I try, but I can't say goodbye. Feel so bad, baby. Oh, it hurts me when I think of how you love and desert me. I'm the broken hearted toy you play with. Maybe you got me going. I need you, baby. I can't let go. I want you, baby. I gotta let you know I can't let I try, but I can't say goodbye. Know that it's wrong and I should be so strong, but the thought of you gone makes me want to hold on. You got me going, I need you, baby. I can't let go. I want you, baby. I gotta have it, you know. I can't let go. You got me going, I need you, baby. I can't let go.
It's the Hollies, of course, and I Can't Let Go. And we can't let go here either. You're listening to Community Radio in Milton Keynes. Seclo Sounds, broadcasting from our studios at Pear Tree Ridge, care of Interaction, our partners in crime. And if you'd like to know any more about them, or indeed us, then go on to the website, look up seclosounds.org or Interaction. And if you'd like to join Seclo Sounds, help us put out the programmes, you'll be more than welcome. So just send us an email to radio@seclosounds.org and we'll get back to you. And I'd like to say a very warm welcome this morning to all of our listeners. Jackie, and hello Jackie, how are you this morning? I hope you're well. Also Lynn, who's, I hope the air show was good for you yesterday.
That's today, I think.
What was the day, was it? Oh, so
today, yeah.
she's taken her time.
Sure,
I do not understand these people who watch planes. I know you do, Bob,
I do,
but,
yes.
but I just, to me, it's a bit like train spotting. How do you actually enjoy it?
Because they're good to see. I mean, I'm not writing down numbers and things like that. That's anorak stuff. But to see a piece of magnificent machinery. Are you not moved when you see the Vulcan flyer?
No.
Yes, when you see the red arrow.
Although one thing that did actually move me when I was in London, when the space shuttle flew over in London.
I missed it.
I was 20, 30, 40 years ago now.
Concorde. Everybody used to stop in the street and watch Concorde.
One of the things I worked for Customs in the 1970s, and I was at Heathrow.
He was one of them.
And I was at Heathrow when Concorde first landed.
God.
And I was 17, and I was taken onto Concorde as when it actually arrived.
Really?
And what you got was just how thin how narrow it was.
Right,
Well, it expanded, didn't it?
I mean, compared to a 747, it's like tiny, but and it was just an amazing aircraft.
I think it expanded about 10 inches in flight when it got to supersonic.
Max speed, yeah.
Yeah. And I always wanted to go on it, but I never will now. But
in a cockpit behind next to the flight engineer's control board.
Yeah?
You can see the gap, yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Heavens above.
I was
Sorry,
going to say the two Lancasters are due to fly over Milton Keynes about 3:20 tomorrow afternoon.
Are they?
Yeah, did you put that on, did you?
what was their price, they said?
Oh, that's
It was the MK Museum have announced it.
I wonder if they fly right over Milton Keynes.
Don't know.
Hope they do, yeah.
But the MK Museum's got this 1940s stuff this weekend.
This weekend, is it? Oh.
So, I mean, that's going to be interesting if you're interested in sort of that part of history.
Yeah.
That's good. It brings me very nice, actually, around to this thing about, I picked up in the paper this week, that windowless planes could soon cut the cost of flying, apparently.
Cargo aircraft.
Well, cargo aircraft, yes, they don't have planes, but what
No windows, you mean?
no windows, that's right. But what they're talking about is instead of looking out through the glass, passengers would watch interactive plastic display screens lining the cabin that show images of what's outside. Very clever idea, and I don't know why they haven't done it before.
Well, Finnair used to do that, and used to have in front of you on the screen a camera which showed it taking off and things like that.
Emirates do. A lot of airlines do these
And
days.
I thought it was brilliant. And,
a lot of people don't like it.
I did.
Yeah, so it worries them, doesn't it?
Well, don't watch it.
Especially if you're going to hit something.
Switch it off.
That's right.
Well, I always, when I used to fly, I used to always go for the window seats until I suddenly realised, that this is a bit of a waste of time because exactly you see a little bit of there's the door gone, so somebody's come in now. So you see a little bit. Do you want to go and see him? I'll talk. Yeah. The fact that you would see the ground going away from you as you took off, but then that's the next thing you'd see is just white fluffy clouds. Until you actually landed, and so
I mean, I had an amazing experience in that I went from Heathrow to Tokyo, and we flew over Russia, and it was at twilight.
Oh, really?
And it was twilight all the way.
Yeah.
And go over the vastness of Russia and see the landscape. It was cloudless all the way, and that twilight, and it was amazing sight. And you just don't realise how big Russia is.
No, that's right.
It was hour after hour after hour, and I couldn't stop watching it. It was just wonderful to see all this amazing wilderness below you, and interspersed with a few rivers here and there and a lake here and there. But it was an amazing sight, something that I think people just don't appreciate the vastness of Russia.
The thing is, I totally agree with this windowless situation. A, because it will cut down on the fuel costs. And obviously the pollution, etc. And with camera technology nowadays, you could create the image that you would not naturally see out, and in fact, you'd probably get a better view of the whole thing. I flew across the States once, and on American Airlines, and the pilot was one of these gung ho chaps, really nice old boy, and he said, he said, well, we're going over Lake whatever it was. He said, and the passengers on the right-hand side can see it, if they look out now. He said, but he said, the passengers on the left-hand side can't see it. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to swing round a bit so that, you guys on the left can see it. Absolutely fantastic guy, really was great. But
it's like the Australian pilot who said, we're going to take off and we're going to put a bit of scenery past the windows just for your entertainment.
Yeah.
Get some characters who are pilots.
You really do, yes.
Southwest is the airline to fly within America.
Yeah, just sit down, don't worry about it.
Yeah, they're really wacky.
Trying to talk outside the room,
Yeah, they on a flight I go on, they're known for their wackiness, and all the girl stewards wear hot pants and this sort of thing, and they say things like, if you're caught smoking on this flight, you'll be invited to walk on the wing while we play Gone with the Wind. And the pilots are absolutely mad as March hears. And a bloke sitting next to me said to me, as he went into a steep dive to land somewhere in Texas, he said, gosh, he said, I don't think Mr. Boeing designed these aircraft to be flown like this.
I know, they really
They've
are.
got a lot of women pilots too.
Yeah, so. And the trolley dollies on certainly on American Airlines, they don't have to retire when they're 17.
No.
So we went on one, and I thought I was on a saga trip, and that was just the trolley dollies.
True. You wait to see the pilots.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be a guy that used to be known for a pilot. He used to come out of his cockpit and he'd tap his way down the cabin with a white stick and dark glasses. I mean, can you imagine? I think that's great sense of humour. Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's not that.
Unless you're a passenger.
We flew back over the Bay of Biscay one day, and it's a bit of a hairy flight if you ever do that, because there's a lot of air turbulence. And we'd been served with our drinks and all the rest of it, and I was clutching my gin and tonic with one hand, or with both hands actually, because we lost quite a lot of altitude, and off down we went, and the people in the back were screaming and saying, "Oh Jesus, it's the end of the world! Oh God, I'm dying!" And all.
Well, it's when they tell the crew to sit down, you start to worry, don't you? When they have to strap in.
We had an amazing experience. We went to Cancun, and we were 2 hours late starting, and then as we went over the Atlantic, the plane started shifting left and right, and we thought we had the world's worst pilot until we landed, and then found out we'd just gone through the tail of a hurricane.
Yes,
and he suddenly went from being the world's worst pilot to the world's best.
Were you at the back of the aircraft?
We were near the back.
Yeah, it's even worse.
And but they shut the airport after we landed for 2 days, and it was one of those amazing experiences I never want to go through again. But
I had some of those experiences that I'd love to go through again, but there you go. That's another story. There seems to be a certain amount of frivolity creeping into the show.
Yeah,
now,
we've got the Waynes now, because Mr. Marion has arrived.
Well, we will wait until
we don't want to hear that.
No, we will wait until he actually graces us with his appearance.
That's far too. There's much bad news in that.
22 minutes away from 9 o'clock here in Milton Keynes. You're listening to secularsounds.org, the Grumpy Old Men on a Saturday morning. Well, again, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to this business about children, because there was a report in the paper this week. 2 in 3 people would actually hesitate to help a child who appeared lost for fear that their intentions would be misunderstood.
Isn't that dreadful?
And,
what does that say about society?
Isn't this just dreadful? I was in my house, I don't know, I think it was last year sometime, and looking out the front window, as I do, because I'm a nosy so-and-so, I saw this little lad coming round the corner, and he must have been 2. If he was certainly very young, just toddling along the street there, nappy round his ankle sort of thing, and I thought, well, okay, fine, his mum will probably come round the corner in a minute, and no, she didn't. you know, so I actually got out and I went out to see this child, you know, because, and thankfully, because, do you know, the mother was on the other side of the road. She'd walked on the pavement on the other side. How she'd obviously crossed over round the corner. The kid hadn't. And I went across to the child, and just as I went across to the child, this woman had come round and was calling out Freddie, or whatever the kid's name was, you know, calling out to him, and the kid would have automatically ran across the road to the mum, you know. And I actually put my hand out and I stopped the child, you know, and I said, whoa, wait a minute, you know, mum is over there. And I suddenly then thought to myself, you know, yeah, it's all very well. Maybe I saved the child's life, maybe I haven't, I don't know, you know, maybe saved a nasty accident or whatever. That's by the by. Somebody looking at me could suddenly turn around and say, you know, well, what's he up to, you know? Little child, him, you know, man on his own.
Well, you've heard the Jewish joke, haven't you? The Jewish pervert goes up to a child in the street and says, "Sonny, do you want to buy a sweetie?"
Yes. All right. Okay. That's not a very nice one. But isn't it a tragedy, though? Isn't it a tragedy, though, the way that as you say, society is breaking itself down now, when we are actually cautious and nervous to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's, you go back to Rotherham, and that's part of the fear, and it's part of...
You took the words out of my mouth, Brian, yeah.
I went to the Bucks County show on Thursday, and a similar sort of thing happened. You know, loads and loads of people there, and all of a sudden, there he was, little fellow, walking on his own. You know, obviously on his own. You know, but completely oblivious to the world. And I mean, it was a safe environment. Safe environment in the sense that there weren't tractors all around.
That was Mark Barry.
But yeah, yes.
It's a strange person from Newport Pegwell wandering amongst them. Yeah.
When I sort of looked up, I saw that his mother was actually frantically calling him. You know, but there we go. Right, we'll say this morning a very warm welcome to our other grumpy old man, Alan. Good morning.
Good morning.
And you haven't got the flu or anything, have you?
No, I've got an excuse though.
Okay, what is it?
I overslept.
That's not what you said when you walked in the door.
No, that's a very good excuse. That is a really good excuse for a man
easily done, though.
Who's been on the show for several months now and has never done it before. So come pretty close to it.
A couple of years now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just a couple of years. I have cut it fine in the past, but this morning, I must admit, I got a phone call from my sister at about 8:10 saying, "Where are you?" And I went, "I'm in bed, fast asleep." And she said, "Aren't you supposed to be at the radio station?" And I went, "Oh!" I went to a complete tears, and now I'm here.
We've got to say thank you to Lynn this morning for bringing our researcher in.
Trish.
Trish, rather, yes. Thanks to Trish. Yeah. Well done, Trish. Thank you very much. You know, so.
Now, who's this Lynn? Now?
Lynn is actually
Lynn's my
another.
cousin. She lives up in Sleaford in Lincolnshire.
Yeah, she's another one of our regular listeners.
She's a great fan of ours. She thinks
indeed,
we're brilliant.
as indeed Trish is as well. No, we've got quite a lot of following of regular listeners now.
Talking of children, though, Mike, what about this case of this little boy who's got this brain tumour, and they're trying to find him still. They still haven't located him. And the parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've refused the treatment in hospital. What do we make of this?
Hang on. You're making statements there that may be actually false, because he is a Jehovah's Witness. That's true. They have taken the child out of hospital.
Yeah,
but that's as far as that's all we can say. You know, they may have taken the child out of hospital for their own good intentions, because they know the child is going to die, and they may be fulfilling a child's wish to go to Spain or wherever it is. We don't know the circumstances.
The child's too young to have a wish, isn't he? How old is the child?
I don't know, but we don't know all the circumstances. And I think, as Brian rightly points out, you know, that we get the press angle of it, or we're not getting the true story.
But again, it's one of those difficult judgments you make. Part of you says, well, the Jehovah's Witnesses should get everything they deserve, and part of you says that kid needs the protection of the health service and needs to be have their life protected. And so you're torn between the two, but I would always go on the side of that kid is the most important thing, and the health services are right to be worried and to actually put out the request to find the kid.
Okay, let me just not want to be a Jehovah when he gets older.
Let me just turn this round.
Too young to make a decision for himself, isn't it? And is that, you know, should this right for treatment be taken away from him?
Let me turn this round on its head then, you know, because the thing is that what we haven't heard is the fact that Sister Bloggs, who's in charge of the ward, actually let that child out of her sight. Let that child go from the hospital. And there's all these video images of the trolley going, the father pushing the...
Yeah, well, that goes back to
hospital.
staffing levels, surely, that they haven't.
No, you're making...
Can they watch a child 24 hours a day,
You're
making Sweden...
One of the things it's always easy in hindsight to blame somebody.
Of course it is.
But when people make mistakes, and this is the point. I mean, we don't proportion blame. If we do, we don't actually. If that particular person who was in charge of that ward at the time was sacked.
Well, that's
I'm not casting
one of the
blame,
things I said.
I was just raising
raising the issue for debate. That was
One
all.
of the things that I said earlier on was I was opposed to some of the Americanisms coming into this country. One of the Americanisms I would like to see is that when people make mistakes in America, it's a learning experience, and you move on and you benefit from that learning experience.
We don't in this country,
when we
do
have
we?
a mistake in this country, you're damned for life. And that's a culture I'd like to see change. That where people do make a mistake and they actually learn from it, we should give them the chance to move on.
Whoa. Are they damned for life? I don't think they are they?
Well, Mike's just...
we are one, Mike. Yeah, of course we are.
Yeah, no. Wait a minute. Let me just turn that on its head as well, because in the States, in America, they don't have, as an employee, you don't have the safeguards that you've got in this country, because they, if you go into work one day and you look at your boss and you smile at him and he doesn't like the look of you, you might have been there for 20 years and he says you're fired. And that's it, and you don't have any recourse back on it whatsoever. At least in this country, you can't do that because we've got
Thanks
all
to lots of people fighting to get that protection.
Yeah, well, again, I don't have anything against that. What I do have against is the fact that we're too prepared to forgive and forget. So let's forgive all these policemen in Rotherham. Who the kids went up to and said, "Please, Mr. Policeman, I'm being abused." Oh, don't worry about it, lass. You're a little prostitute, so that's it. You go away and do it. Let's let that policeman live, and not admonish him, not sack him.
Exactly. I think it's gone the other way, isn't it? That nobody ever gets pulled to rights over this, do they? I mean, look at the cases that we've brought up on this show in the past. How these lunatics get away with murder, basically, don't they?
And in a lot of cases, it is murder.
Of course it is.
I mean, I've got one down here somewhere, which I was going to bring up somewhere. It's a woman's town. No, that's not the right one. But there is one. Yeah. Oh, here we are. A victim of a deported thief calls the legal system a joke, because apparently this burglary victim branded the British legal system a joke. Because this guy was jailed, Lithuanian bloke was jailed for breaking into the house, or was deported back. Within 9 days, he was back in this country again, arrested again on another assault and all this, and sent back again. And then 5 days later, he was back in the UK again. I mean, come on, let's. It is a joke, absolute joke. I'll get annoyed now. Might turn all the microphones off and play some music. And listen, if you'd like to take part in the show, then please, radio@secularsounds.org. That's all you have to do. Send us an email, radio@secularsounds.org, and we will include you in our debate.
And Mike's particularly grumpy this morning.
If we are having a debate, well, why not? Because it's...
The problem is we can't pull the mic on him, can we?
No, I can do it on myself, though.
We can sing, though.
That's
true.
This is another... This gets my blood boiling, It's absolutely... They're saying now that probably about a third of motorists don't understand the fact, or don't realise the fact that from the 1st of October, you don't have to show your tax disc anymore. Because there won't be a tax disc anymore, because they're not going to issue them. And
there's still going to be car tax.
There's still going to be...
But I still think there's going to be an awful lot of people who get away with not paying it and they don't get caught. I don't think it's going to make any changes.
No, I don't.
Well, in theory, it should work.
Well,
in practice, will it?
I think it will.
Middle lane driving.
I think it will, because the thing is that there are a lot of these APNR cameras about, and all they're doing is they're going to clock you, and they're not. You're going to then receive a letter if you are the registered owner of the car. Where they're going to...
Yeah,
people
tax
are going
dodgers always register their car properly.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, when you haven't registered your car, then yes, that's the bit where the police are going to have to pull you up over it. But the fact is that the government reckons that they're going to save... let me see, where is it?
£10 million.
£10 million, that's right, yes, on the fact of not issuing these paper discs.
So we should stay in the 19th century with just paper... discs.
No, wait a minute, because I haven't finished yet. Shut up. The point is that the DVLA now are going to, when you buy a car, all right, and it's got a bit of tax on it, you could drive it home or drive it out the showroom or whatever. You cannot do that now because as soon as let's talk about the legal person who sells a car. I sell a car to Bob, all right? So I immediately send off electronically to the DVLA to say that I'm no longer the registered owner. Now, until Bob can actually drive that car on the road legally, he must notify the DVLA that he is now the registered owner of that car, so that this virtual tax disc will now be in his name. That's all very well. My point in question is that they are still sticking to the fact that if you register your car on the 29th of August or the 30th of August, you have to pay for the whole of August. You don't you don't start paying from the 29th of August. Now, if they're going to do it electronically, why on earth can't they do it exactly the same way as the MOT is done? Because the MOT is done not from the first of the month, it's done from the day that you have your car MOT'd. Yeah. And the DVLA will write to you and inform you that on the 14th of October your car is due for an MOT.
They don't write to you, do they?
No, they send you an email.
Do they?
Yes.
I've never had an email about my MOT being due.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I think you can pay for it. I think you pay for it.
Oh.
You pay two quid or something like that.
I suspect it's because the regulations didn't get changed.
Well, okay, but and the regulations won't be changed because the thing is, there are 31 days in a lot of months. Some months only 30 days, some months only 28. But it means that if you buy a car towards the end, if you buy a car on the 30th or the 31st of the month, if you want to drive it that day, you have got to pay the government for 30 days of non-ownership of the car.
Yeah, well, currently you can transfer the tax, can't you? When you sell a car and it's got tax left on it, that's legal, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And that's what Mike's complaining is no longer
Yeah, that's right.
No longer is it no longer illegal rather. But the whole point is as well that if I sold a car to you now, right, and my car's got a couple of months, it's got 6 months tax on it or whatever, I can actually say to you, well, actually, Bob, I'm going to take that tax off because I'm going to send it back. Right?
Get a refund.
Yeah. Now it's today the 30th of August. Good day to choose. So I send it off today to the DVLA. I will only get September's. I won't get August's money. No, which is all right because I actually did it. But let's move it on a couple of days because if I go into the 3rd of September, for instance, then I will not get September's money back. I will only get the clear months.
Yeah,
that is to me is legalised robbery.
Well, I agree with you. And then they're going to say, well, we didn't get it in that month, so you've lost another month.
Yeah, that's quite likely. But why with technology? And I totally agree. Let's get rid of the road tax.
It's just another way of making money.
Bit of waste of paper, But they've, as you say, it's a stealth tax because they've saving themselves £10 million. What are they going to do with that £10 million?
Well, it won't go on the road.
It will probably
go to the DVLA.
Foreign aid funding or something like that.
Probably.
What I can't understand is how they're going to save £10 million.
No, do I.
Well, they're printing.
Just in the paper.
Because they don't print a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Does it cost £10 million to print the tax disc?
How many cars are in the country?
Well, I suppose it's postage.
I was saying this morning, one of the major supermarkets, I think it was Marks and Spencer's or something, or it might have been Waitrose, 7 tonnes, they reckon 7 tonnes of price labels go on and packaging on their shelves in a year on one item. 7 tonnes of paper they use, and they're going to do it electronically onto the packaging or something. I didn't get the full story, but they were saying how much in weight paper is used just on price labels in supermarkets.
It's the same as
that's where they're saving the money, I imagine.
The same as packaging, isn't it? If you go to you go to a place and it's got a high value product on it, the packaging, it might only be a little tiny thing.
Perfumes, prime example.
Yeah, it's a great big box that you can't get into. I don't buy perfumes,
But the packaging must cost a fortune. Some of these sort of shapes that you get these bottles into.
That's part of what you're buying. You're buying the packaging.
Well,
you're buying
when
you buy perfume, you're not buying a
smell.
piece of chemical in a jar. What you're buying is an essence. You're buying an experience.
What's this perfume?
Yeah, what's this perfume? I think you should have another line, Alan. It's great.
But I mean, some of these packaging. What you're talking about, a package that cuts your fingers off when you try to get into it.
Yes.
Oh, that's awful, isn't it?
But why can't we go back to... I mean, I remember the old days when you used to go to Sainsbury's and that, and you used to ask for a bit of butter, you know, and they would cut it off the thing and wob it down, yes, and put it in a little bit of brown paper.
On the marble top.
Brown paper, which you used to use to light the fire. You know, the package you used to light the fire.
Greased with butter.
Yes, yeah.
But if you look at why... sorry.
Don't lie on us.
I'll go and cough in the corner. But if you look at why the packaging's there, it's there because most supermarkets work on the just-in-time principle. Mm-hmm. And it's there to facilitate the driving and the actual transportation of that packaging to the supermarket. And so there's a whole range of packaging that's all designed around that just-in-time. And to keep the goods fresh from the moment they're on the shelf. So there are good reasons for the packaging, but I agree it's totally excessive. But if you talk to the packaging industry, you talk to supermarkets, they have good reasons for doing what they do. Whether it's justified or not is another question. I tend to agree with you. It's not.
We're talking about the non-food items like a plug, so electrical
and
plug.
Again, it's
all
all
this
about
bubble pack, the thick plastic with cardboard. Batteries are another one. You just can't get into the damn things. They're supposed to be tamper-proof packs, aren't they? But when you buy it, you can't get into it either.
Yeah, but
that proves it's tamper-proof.
Yes.
Well, you know, in a lot of cases, it's because people will actually just pick it off the shelf and put it in their pocket without anybody seeing it, you know, and then they walk out.
Well, that's the reason behind it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Talking about those sort of things, which we won't, but it's apparently £67 million to fix the bodged jobs at home.
How much?
£67 million. Because DIY disasters have already cost homeowners £67 to put right in this year.
Yeah, don't go
insurers
there. Don't go there.
say.
Just done this.
Well, it's interesting because I'm going to put my hand up. No, I'm not, because Brian loves it when I apologise. but on a couple of occasions I've tried very simple DIY jobs and then had to call the plumber in afterwards.
Yes, this happened to me last week. Casement windows, you know, the arms you close them on?
Yes.
Well, it starts off with when my house was built, they put the fitting on with one Phillips screw and one crosshead screw. So I couldn't get the screws out. I sheared off the screw. So I had to get a workman in to drill out because I haven't got a drill, to drill out...
You haven't got a drill?
No, I haven't got a drill, I lost it. To drill out this screw and replace it. And just everything was a bodge. And then I get the packaging home from a certain well-known home-based store. And the lock's missing from the casement lock, and a part is missing from the arm as well on another packet. So, you know, produced in China, of course, and there's bits missing from both packages. Although we got by, but it cost me £40.
I'm not qualified to talk on this because I'm not qualified to do anything at home, and I'm totally incompetent. So, and I recognise I'm totally incompetent.
So do I.
But we're just getting the external part of our house done at the moment. Hasn't been done for years and years and years. And I have to say that the people that we've got doing it are brilliant. And you don't realise just how professional they are until you actually see them in operation.
I know, that's the...
I've got a lovely shelf a lovely beveled edge shelf in my conservatory, which the bevel is going against the wall. I put that up.
Yeah, well,
I'd be different.
I put a patio door in upside down. Upside down, yeah. Well, I didn't read the instructions properly, you know. But there we go. It's been in there a long time, and it still works.
Well, isn't that the point of instructions? You only read them once you actually get into trouble.
Read them. You don't get any words on the instructions anymore, do you? You just get pictures that are not very clear in the first place.
Well, I just installed a Wi-Fi printer the other day, and yeah, I followed the on-screen instructions, and it went off and it searched for my router, and I scrolled down and I clicked on my router and all that, and then it asked me to supply a WPA/WES or something, and I hadn't got a clue what.
But any 9-year-old kid could have probably just walked in and done it.
Well, the thing was, had they said, you know, please supply the password on your router, I would have known what they were talking about.
That's right.
And it did take me a little while to do it, you know. And then my wife, who was mesmerised by this thing because she couldn't understand how she could sit with her iPad and press the print button and this thing on the dining room table would spew out a piece of paper printed of what she wanted. She couldn't understand how it worked. She said, I don't understand how that works. So I said, good. That's the best way. Leave it, leave it like that. You don't have to understand.
We've just had a major discussion about all the printers we've got that now clutter up our house that don't work.
Yeah.
And my wife is a big fan of Canon, and she said, with Canon machines, you just put it in there, it works. And so we had this major argument whether HP was a good printer or what was... And I'm still baffled by it.
They're all there. They're all. I mean, they're all the same, really.
You're very quiet, Alan, this morning.
Yes,
He hasn't woken up
I
yet.
haven't woken up yet. I'm actually... I was asleep then.
Because you're a bit of a geek, aren't you?
Have you had a good?
Yeah, I've got lots of printers at home.
He's got lots of things at home. In fact, he's got a television. I went into his house one day, and I thought, this guy has got the biggest fish tank I've ever seen. And it wasn't a fish tank at all, it was his television.
It was a plasma.
Yeah.
With fish on it.
But look, with all these printers, you now have lots of printers that no longer work or partially work, or you were out of date. And we've got them inundated, and I'm sure most people have.
I've done 3 the other week.
And what do you do with them? Where do you actually...
I'll take them down, recycle them.
I'll take them down the dump.
Yeah, recycle them.
But that's the whole point, is that you have this hoard of things that you clutter up your house. You never quite get round to going down to the tip. You never quite get round to passing them on to people who could actually use them.
Well,
and they just clutter
I think they do, don't they? Same with computers, I think, themselves. I mean, the amount of computers you get through, I took mine out, but my wife insists that I take the hard drives out, and she's not just insists on taking the hard drive out. She has to smash it and bang it and wreck it. I said, it's not going to work. It's all bent up. How are you going to work that? And she continues to chuck rocks at it or whatever.
Well, I totally agree with her, because I mean, the stuff that you probably got on your...
but once it's all bent up and scratched and damaged, and it's out of the machine, and it's in our house, what's going to happen to it?
You haven't seen the security services.
Funny story. Funny story. I must tell you this funny story. I was talking to my dentist yesterday, and he was saying we were talking about the sat-navs in France, Monge 2, where if you've got speed camera alerts on them, they can take your car.
Yes.
Well, a friend of his went to France, I think it was last year, and he had a radar detector, and he locked it in his boot, and he actually owned up to having this when the police stopped him and said, it's okay because it's locked in my boot. Well, they not only fined him €700 or whatever it was on the spot, they made him take this out of the boot and drive over it until it was crushed in front of them. Now, only the French could do this, couldn't they?
Monge 2.
Did you see that YouTube video where the British guy was totally drunk and the French started to... policeman breathalyzed him and made him go through all this, and he was in the passenger seat.
That's right. Yeah,
it's apparently a true story.
Yes, apparently it is. Yeah,
I've got to
like
tell
most of
you a
these.
story about last week when we left here.
When did we leave here?
Well, I walked out with Mike, and I said to Mike, look at that dead bird, and he looked up in the sky. I went, I can't see it.
That was on an email.
Yes, thank you very much. we at this point in time, you're listening to Secular Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
Hi, this is Lisa Lavelle. Join me for Lazy Sundays on Secular Sounds. I've got music to soothe you, move you, and groove you. Sundays at 2 p.m. on Secular Sounds.
Yes, the 1980s are back.
Hi, I'm Dave and I play the music from the 1980s.
Hi, I'm Charlotte and I play the music from the 1990s.
Classic 90s grooves.
So join us each and every Saturday between 10 and midday.
For double decades on Seclo Sounds. Seclo Sounds.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.
Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
I
understand just how you feel. Your love for me, why not reveal? It's over now, but it was grand. I understand, I understand. If you ever change your mind, come back to me, and you will find me waiting here at your command. I understand, I understand. Oh, I miss you so. Please believe me when I tell you that I can't stand to see you go, for I know if you ever change your mind, come back to me, and you will find me waiting here at your command. I understand, I understand, I understand just how you feel. Let bygones be bygones, for always remember, I love you, I love you, I love you. We'll take a cup of kindness yet, for the sake of old lang syne. I understand.
That's Freddie and the Dreamers, of course, and I understand. You probably won't understand what's going on here on Seclo Sounds Community Radio for Milton Keynes this morning, because we are the Grumpy Old Men, and between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock we have a real go at all sorts of things that happen in and around the world. And as I said at the top of the show this morning, these are all our own individual comments, all right, and they're not endorsed in any shape or form by Seclo Sounds, the community radio station for Milton Keynes. If you'd like to get involved with community radio, then just send us an email, radio@seclosounds.org. If you'd like to get in touch with us about anything to do with the programme as well, you can go onto onto Facebook, actually, and go onto the Grumpy Old Men and Women side, and they'll put your comments onto there. Right, we are very pleased to say that our researcher this morning, Mr. Alan Mallion, has decided that it would be much better spent here in the studio with us three, rather than just snuggled up in bed with his pillow. He did admit, actually, to oversleeping, which I'm very pleased, because I won't have to admonish him anymore, because he didn't tell a lie. He told the truth and said that he overslept, so that's very commendable of him. However, he did come in a little bit late. He did make amends by making a cup of tea, and he did go away and weigh himself. So,
and he's also been given 10 Hail Marys.
Well, with yes, thank you very much. With great drum roll now, we will actually announce what you have all been waiting for, I know, and that is the fact of.
Are we naming names?
The weigh-in. Well,
I think we should.
All right.
We've got to make names.
That means
Michael,
that Brian
you've
hasn't
increased by £2. I'm not going to give the weights. I'm going to say you've added another £2. It's £5 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you had to add that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I've added £3 in 2 weeks, despite my home scale.
And how much is that in 2 weeks? £3.
£3 in 2 weeks. So I added £1 this week.
All right.
Alan, you've added £2 on top of the 7 from last week, so it's 9. And even Brian has added £5, £4 this week onto the one of last week. So, Mike, you and I are the winners this week.
Well,
don't you feel good about that?
I think it's a fix, actually. I
think it's so scaled.
I think its gravity is obviously slightly different in the kitchen here at Seclo Sounds.
It's got to be, isn't it? Because
it's like a little freak wave in gravity.
If it wasn't for the fact that I can vouch, listener, that the scales were actually brand new, because when they were brought into the studio, they were unwrapped from their cellophane. So they were virginal scales.
Doesn't matter though, does it? You've got to have calibrated ones, haven't you, like speedometers for speeding.
Well, I must admit, it does depend upon where you put it on the floor.
Yeah.
And other excuses.
I also noticed Mike breathing out before he stood on them.
Yeah, but
Well, I've
we've
got long
all
trousers
experienced the same thing this morning. They've all been in the same place, haven't they, this morning? So
Yeah.
we have to take it as fairly gospel, don't we? That correct.
It goes against the
It's
grain.
only because winter's coming.
Well, that's right.
We're on our winter coats, aren't we?
We're storing ourselves up, But I'm going to talk about, although it does grate me a little bit, but Women's Town makes appeal for bachelors. Because apparently, we've got to form an orderly queue, chaps, all right? Because the town, populated entirely by beautiful women, has put an appeal out for eligible bachelors. Well, that's you, Alan, So the ladies of Nova de Cordeiro are renowned for their striking good looks and run the town to suit their needs.
Oh, so it's not just round the corner then?
No. Most are aged between 20 to 35, and they take care of everything from farming to religion. But there's one thing they still need, and that's a man. Nelma Fernandez, who's 23, one of more than 600 women in the remote town in southeast Brazil, said, "I haven't kissed a man for a long time. We all dream of falling in love and getting married." Now, gentlemen, before you... I'm using the term gentlemen out to our listeners, all right? Not us, because we're all happily married in here, apart from Alan, who's got more sense. The fact, but our listeners who are eligible bachelors, all right, they just don't get too mad over this, because there is one problem. Miss Fernandez has added that any man who thinks that he can go there and lord it over all these ladies can apparently think again, because she said they need to agree to do what we say and live according to our rules.
Oh, that doesn't sound good to me.
So I think that one we will file in the file 13.
There's probably one I haven't got men.
Well, no, actually, this goes back. There's an elderly couple in the paper this week. I think they're 102 or something. They've been married 80 years or something, God bless them. Absolutely fantastic. But when
didn't they look young? I mean, she did, didn't she?
Yeah.
She looks about 60.
When it boils down to it, the fact that they've been married so long is because the blokes agreed with what the wife said.
Absolutely right.
So this is the same as this village here.
Yes.
If you go there, you've got to agree with what the women
There's two
say.
rules to a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Rule 1 is always agree with your wife. Rule 2 is
remember
rule run.
Yes, that's exactly right. The ladies have it all. So well done, ladies. We've got to give you those bits and pieces as well. Talking about ladies, and I must admit, there's been one or two really rather funny YouTube type video clips on Facebook about this ice bucket madness, but I think that it is actually ice bucket madness, because regrettably several people have lost their lives over it, because
several now, is it?
It's a worldwide thing. Very clever, whoever initiated it in the first place, as a fundraiser to get people to donate either £10 to the charity, have a bucket of water, ice water chucked over them, or else donate £100 to any other charity. A good idea in principle, but.
Oh, it was £10.
No, £10 if you have the bucket thrown over you, or if you don't.
Oh.
But you have to, anyway. That's by the by.
Have you seen the arguments that have happened with Macmillan Cancer Charity?
Well, this is it, because they've tried to jump on the bandwagon as well,
and have been severely criticised for it.
And to a certain extent, I don't blame them, because I think if a charity comes up with a brilliant idea, then that should belong, in inverted commas, to that particular charity, rather than anybody else jumping on the bandwagon and saying, well, we can do the same thing.
Is that very charitable?
The more important... No, it shouldn't be either. The more important thing is that this is a damn stupid thing to do, because to pour a bucket of ice-cold water over somebody...
What if you've got a weak heart and you don't know it?
This is why I have been nominated to... My daughter, bless her, I'll kill her. She nominated me to do it, Well, I flatly refuse. I really do, because I don't want a bucket.
I got into trouble on Facebook because because I pointed out that there are vast parts of this globe that where there are water shortages, where people have to walk for up to 2 or 3 hours a day to get to the well,
carrying it on their head as well,
carry the water back, and that when people are actually using this ice bucket, they ought to remember that water is a precious commodity. That's not to say don't do it. But it's just that there are organisations like WaterAid and others who are actually working to actually try and solve these problems.
If I understand this, then you want everybody to feel guilty.
No, I'm just saying, just remember that there's another aspect to it.
Wasting that water. I mean, we've got plenty of water in this country. There's no shortage.
Oh, there will be. We haven't had a drought yet, have we?
Oh,
We're not on drought warning yet. We will be.
We've got lakes full of it.
Yeah.
In fact, we're an island. We're surrounded by it.
But it's not just in this country, is it? It's
Well, that's the
everywhere.
point.
They're
We're
doing this
lucky.
worldwide, aren't they?
We are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a nation.
And there are large parts of this globe that are not so lucky.
Yes, but I mean, that's like, I did once feel guilty about eating dinner when I was looking at a famine relief type programme on the television. I thought, oh my God, I'm sitting here with this big wholesome meal and I'm looking at these poor starving children. But, you just got to separate those things out.
And that was the point I was making, which is that there are, once you still have fun doing it.
I thought you were trying to make me feel guilty.
Oh, that's easy. You Lib Dem.
Yes, yeah, Lib Dem.
Sorry.
I mean,
but no, you see, there is just remember that there are other things around, and that's all I was trying to do, was make people aware that there is a whole issue around use of water. If you go to the States and in California, where the water is in the north of California and there's drought conditions in the south of California, there is actually interstate real bitter arguments about the movement of that water. So it is an issue that is actually not just in the third world, but in developed worlds as well.
The Hoover Dam is
the Americans a nice length of hose pipe.
The Hoover Dam is actually almost drained now, apparently.
Is it?
Yeah, it's going down, and because Las Vegas now is
It's
they've
not a
got
dam. The dam's a building. It's the lake by the Hoover Dam.
Well, all right, clever, clever, yeah.
I just tested your knowledge.
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. But
Boulder Lake.
I mean, I was in Las Vegas. I don't know, about 7 or 8 years ago now, something like that, and you could see the way the water level had actually dropped in the dam, or in the reservoir. I said not the dam.
Were the towns that they drowned visible? I saw an amazing programme about the building of the dam, and they drowned several towns in order to make that lake.
Yeah.
And I believe some of them are now visible again.
Oh, they really? Yeah. I mean, that's they have it in this country, don't they? There's certain valleys have been flooded, and
mid Wales.
But we have a lot of we don't have a water shortage in this country. But I agree with Brian's sentiments rather than Alan's, because we've got a lot of water. But the point that I was making was the fact that this is a dangerous thing to do. I watched a YouTube thing of a young lad sat down behind a dumper truck, a truck with these things they fill up waste. What's the word I'm looking for?
Dumpster.
Yeah, but these great big containers that you put the rubbish in, and then the lorry comes along and lifts it up on the back,
A dust cart.
Well, that sort of thing, But this guy, and this thing was a skip. That's the word. That's a skip lorry.
We get it in the end, don't we?
A skip lorry. And this young lad was sitting there. He was mouthing off about and all the rest of it, and how his friends had done. And then somebody said, "Oh, you'd be killed," And all right, they did tip the skip over him, so it was a skip full of cold water. Which really flushed him off down the hill. But yes, if something had happened to that skip, it had come off its chain or something, the bloke would have been killed because he was virtually sitting underneath it. And health and safety should have come in there and taken that company that have done it and actually fined them. Yeah. Fine them a lot of money and give that money to charity.
You've led into my next subject, fines. Fines. Again, Network Rail fined £53.1 million for late trains. This was revealed in the Milton Keynes News. On Monday, this was last week I believe, the rail giant was fined £53.1 million by the Office of Rail Regulation for failing to meet punctuality standards. Now, my argument here is, who's going to pay these fines?
Yeah.
It's the passengers, isn't it? And the same thing happens with the ambulance service in the east of England. Have you seen the results of that last night?
This is the one with where one chief exec's doing two jobs.
Yeah.
If a chief exec is there for one job, that takes all their time. So how can they possibly do two jobs?
But
that's why they get paid so much.
But they're fining them so many £1 million, aren't they, for not getting 73%, I think it was, didn't get to incidents, 999 calls in under 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with the chief executive, is it? I mean, that's the
no. This is what they're being fined for.
Yeah.
Now, again, the ambulance service hasn't got money of its own; it's taxpayers' money. So we're going to be paying for the chicanes. So why don't they keep imposing fines? Is there no other way of dealing with it?
Well, that's the way it's set up under regulators, and they've having fines, which I agree with you, it's not the right way of doing it. But I'm celebrating because on Monday, Network Rail gets renationalised.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that too.
I think it's great, but what's happened, and the government claim it's only a statistical change, but at the moment, Network Rail is classified as a not-for-profit or not-for-dividend company in the private sector. From Monday, it's designated as part of the public sector and a central government body. And it's because the Office of National Statistics have said the money for Network Rail comes from government or taxpayers, and it's actually carries out government policy. So therefore, it's a government department, a government agency. And the problem has always been that they've got a £38 billion debt that the Chancellor Exchequer wants to keep off the public books. So that's why they've always done it. But because the Office of National Statistics has said no, it's a public body. So I'm celebrating the fact that this Conservative government has renationalised the Network Rail.
Do you believe in nationalisation then?
I believe in public ownership. I don't necessarily believe in
railways and utility companies, certainly.
I do believe in public ownership, but it doesn't mean you have to have a monolithic state-run from London organisation the way nationalisation was in the 1940s. There are plenty of other models that you can use, from cooperative models to social enterprises, right through to companies not for profit and things like that. So there's much more models these days than was the time when they were privatised.
But isn't this just going round the circle? You know, the fact that we'll nationalise something, and then a few years' time there'll be a change of government, a couple of changes in government, and then they decide, no, the best thing to do is to denationalise it because it's not working, So is it not just we're going around in circles?
Let's just take the Eastern Railway, Eastern Line of the railway. The private company running it got into trouble. This is the one that goes up through Bedford and it got into trouble, and therefore it was brought back into the public sector. It's had a major success over the last 10 years in running it. So what is the government doing now? It's privatising it again. Instead of using the money coming in to help the Treasury coffers, it's actually flogging it off, and I can't see the logic of that. When it's actually one of the best railways we've got, and it's been run really efficiently. Compare that with some of the other railways which haven't been run so well.
Perhaps we should get Mr. Branson on the phone, Sir Richard Branson, I do beg your pardon, get him on the phone to talk about this, because, the West Coast line, that's again another farce, isn't it? Because the civil servants got all their figures wrong because they put all the decimal places in the wrong, put the decimal points in the wrong places, and came up with this stupid thing. And of course, the government, it cost the government, what is it, £200 million or something, and they haven't done anything. And Richard Branson's got the franchise back again.
The number of working days that are being lost because the maintenance work is overrunning. On it was up in Norfolk and Suffolk.
And are we still going to get HS2, in 2030 when it's going to open up?
I don't think it's ever going to happen, to be honest.
No? I thought they were already sort of cutting out the elements of it. I thought it was already...
Well, maybe, but will it ever get finished?
Well, one of the best things that's happening is Crossrail in London is actually being built at the moment, and I think that will be a major step forward. And they're already talking about Crossrail too.
Yeah.
So I think that's more important.
Keeping Boris Johnson in.
Have you seen the programmes about the engineering of this, the building of it? Fantastic.
It is amazing.
You've got to watch it more than once, haven't you? You can't take it all in, the scale of the project.
There was a Milton Keynes company who did a lot of the virtual animation for Crossrail, and that was a virtual viewing, and they were really good at presenting that in the early days. So it's something that a lot of companies can benefit from, the spin-off of building projects like that. So it's not just the building of it. It's all the other things that happen and bring profits and jobs to lots of different companies.
Well, you haven't got your research machine this morning. What happened?
He ran out the door without it.
Yes, it's a good job, actually. He's got the clothes on, so... It's
Taxpayers Alliance, who I know is near to our hearts, The siren's been over ambulance boss expenses. Closer to home, we found out this week that Dr. Anthony Marsh, Chief Executive of West Midlands and East of England Ambulance Services, has racked up some £30,000 worth of expenses over the past 16 months, including 20 nights at a 4-star hotel that cost the taxpayer £4,514. At the time when the NHS is having to find its necessary savings, it's simply inappropriate for senior management to be so detached from the same belt-tightening happening elsewhere.
Totally disagree with that. If a person is entitled to that sort of standard of living, then they should be entitled to it, and they should be given it.
I disagree with you entirely.
Much, of course.
There are plenty of hotels in London at a much cheaper price than that. They're actually good value, and it's a question of making the appropriate hotel.
Booking.com.
And rather than having
Chivago.
to choose one of the top hotels, and that's the difference.
I think it's abusing expenses. Hello, what are we doing now, Mike?
This is the phone thing.
Ringing up. Who's ringing up?
Yeah, no, I was telling me that.
Do we have a phone call?
That's something there. We'll get rid of that. Blimey, it's a telephone.
We're being sabotaged.
That hospital's got plenty of spare ground. Little tent in the front of the hospital.
No, you're being absolutely stupid now. It's ridiculous.
But you can have a hotel in London that isn't in the top, £500 a night and things like that.
It starts with having a hotel for MPs, isn't it?
If they're National Health Service, surely there's a couple of spare beds in the hospital.
There aren't. That's the thing. There are no spare beds in
I think it's reasonable to have some expenses, and I think it's reasonable that they should stay over in London. I don't think. And the problem with the Taxpayers Alliance is that they're never reasonable, but that's another issue.
No, we were trying to get them on the show actually.
They never responded. No, I emailed them, and they never responded.
But so it's a question of degree, and I think the figures that they've shown are way out of line compared to what is reasonable.
Are you saying they're exaggerating the figures, or are you saying?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that whether they're exaggerating it or whether that chief exec is going 1 or 2 grades above where it's comfortable to be.
Quite possibly, yeah.
The bottom line is that the guy needs, or the girl, whatever, needs to stay in a hotel in London, and it costs money.
That's the point I'm making, is that there are...
Yeah, but
you don't have to spend it at £500 a pound a night, you can spend it at £100 a night.
Really, you have to cut your... I'd like to see the hotel you get in London for less than £100, because I've frequently tried to get one, and the cheapest you can get a hotel in London is something like about £140.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. Hang on.
£200-300 here, aren't we?
Yeah, but you're all missing the point, because at the end of the day, this is a very highly paid person, a very well-respected person in Norris. It must be because of the position that they hold. Now, so they go down to London and they get off the train because they've got to take the train and not a car, and they then trundle round all the hotels looking, that one's too expensive because I can get one cheap. This is probably...
They have a PA who will do that.
Exactly, but she gets on the phone and she phones up a reasonable, nice class hotel for this person. I mean, heavens above, if I was in...
You're only arguing in favour because you used to get big expenses.
Well, yeah, but no, that's true. But if my PA had ever phoned me up and said, I booked you into the the Queen's Arms in Hammersmith High Street, because it's £25 a night, I would sack her. I would dismiss her on the spot.
But equally, we don't...
to be the Hilton.
You couldn't dismiss her for that.
No,
I'd get her
I'd get her, yes.
But again, it's why should it be the Ritz instead of a reasonable hotel?
That's the point we're arguing, yes.
The Ritz, that's right. Let's change Ritz for rich, because these people live in a comfortable style, and you want to remain in that comfortable style. You don't have to put them into...
but when it goes on your tax bill, you're going to argue about it, aren't you?
Of course you are. Well, you're not. You're going to get your accountant to do it,
No, your tax bill.
My tax bill, as a pensioner, I hardly pay any tax at any rate, so it's... Because I don't earn enough, I'm not given enough. I'm not given enough money from...
Because it's all going on this guy's expenses.
Well, I hope you kept getting, because they're going to make the upper limit, what is it, 40 pence and... 40 pence, I don't know what the tax for.
That's all right, vote for a party you don't know what they're going to do.
Well, no, actually, you just hit on the next point, because vote for a party that don't know what they're going to do is the Scottish referendum, which is coming up in, 18 days' time, 19 days' time.
Wasn't that the worst debate ever?
It was absolutely
It was so juvenile.
Yes, it was pathetic.
I mean, I'm
someone
all.
said, don't
I
point
think
at
Sam
me.
wants to be king of Scotland, doesn't he?
I mean, it didn't do democracy, it didn't do politics any good.
No, it
I mean, to have a debate was the right thing to do, but the BBC guy who was running it was lost control. The two guys were shouting. It was a classic example of why people are put off politics.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, there are real issues there that need to be debated, and there are two sides to it. But the way it came across on TV just made people switch off.
The thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong because I always am wrong, but I'm not apologising. When you have this is an Americanism, isn't it? The debate between the two national leaders and that sort of thing. But all right, Salmon is the leader in Scotland, but Alistair Darling, I don't think is he still even an MP or something. I mean,
Is he the government? He's the spokesperson for the No campaign and has been. Everybody's agreed that he's the person who will lead the Stay Together campaign.
Yeah, but why not have the debate between him and the spokesperson for the Yes campaign?
Well, that is Salmon.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. You should have the two leaders. It should have been Salmon and Cameron.
Why?
Really?
Why?
I mean,
because at the end of the day, it's
Cameron?
What?
What's it got to do with Cameron?
Because he's actually the Prime Minister
of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, well, at the moment, yeah. Might be
but
the Prime Minister of
But
England.
the issue is
so he's totally inappropriate because he represents the United Kingdom, not England.
What?
You mean, not Scotland?
Not Scotland.
Yeah,
he represents the United Kingdom.
You see, I told you I'd be
So that'd be a
misinformed.
He'd be arguing with himself.
I mean, that's the danger that I was really... I'm very much Neil McCullers and Mass and want the Scots to stay part of the United Kingdom. But
I agree with you.
One of the fears I had is that people like Cameron and some of the others who are perceived to be English politicians would go up there, lecture the Scots, and that would be the biggest campaign. They'd be the biggest recruiting sergeants for the Yes campaign if they tried to sort of lecture people in Scotland.
The Scots,
and also Cameron, you've got to think about his name as well.
The Scots are very canny people, and they look after the pound. They look after the pound in their sporran, and I've spoken to quite a few Scottish people recently about this, and they all, whilst they like the idea of Scotland going on its own, they know what they want is the answers to the financial situation if they did ever devolve, and there is no answer to that. No answer has been given because you've got someone on one side saying, we'll keep the pound, and you've got the Chancellor of the Exchequer saying, oh no, you won't.
One of the things I find rather amusing is that when the debate for Scotland joining the Union happened 200 odd years ago, it was in the wake of a banking crisis and all the financial uncertainty. Now we're having this referendum in the wake of a banking crisis. I just find the symmetry rather amusing.
It is actually, and also the thing about the fact that the Scotland, if they do get it, they will stay in the EU. They will actually not be allowed to stay in the EU because if
they have to apply, won't they?
They have to apply. They will be debarred.
Well, actually, nobody knows because this situation hasn't occurred before.
No, but I think the rules are that if
when East Germany became part of a united Germany, East Germany automatically became part of the EU. So there are precedents there, and I can't see why. And I hope they don't go independent. But if they go in, why they shouldn't be automatically continue to be part of the EU?
Of course, you said precedents, didn't you? And I changed it to presidents because I think Tony Blair wants to be there. He should be the president of the EU, shouldn't he?
MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
Yes, the 1980s are back.
Hi, I'm Dave and I play the music from the 1980s.
Hi, I'm Charlotte and I play the music from the 1990s.
Classic 90s grooves.
So join us each and every Saturday between 10 and midday.
For double decades on Seclo Sounds. Seclo Sounds.
Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
There's a new world somewhere they call the promised land, and I'll be there someday if you will hold my hand. I still need you there beside me, no matter what I do, for I know I'll never find another you. There is always someone for each of us, they say, and you'll be my someone forever and a day. I could search the whole world over until my life is through, but I know I'll never find another you. It's a long, long journey, so stay by my side. When I walk through the storm, you'll be my guide, be my guide. If they gave me a fortune, my pleasure would be small. I could lose it all tomorrow and never mind at all. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'd do, for I know I'll never find another you. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'll do, for I know I'll never find another you.
The Shepherd's song, you know, I'll never find another you. From, of course, the News Seekers, and I'm sorry about that. We shouldn't have jokes on the show, should we? All right, okay.
We were
fine.
talking about firemen earlier.
There's four of us, isn't there?
Yes. There was a fireman he started fires himself in a misguided attempt to save his fire station from closure.
It's not the first time it's happened.
No. Richard Norton set fire to recycling skips in Knight and Powys, Wales, to increase the number of call-outs. Llandudno Wales Magistrates Court heard that the 33-year-old who was since retired as a fireman and wanted to make the station, which had been threatened with closure, appear to be more viable. Norton of Knight had admitted two charges of arson after a hearing in November last year. JP sentenced him this week to a 12-month community order with a positive skills course and a 90 hours of unpaid work.
Good job he didn't live in Chipping Norton or Hook Norton.
That's where old, what's his name lives, isn't it, from Top Gear?
Jeremy Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson, or he did.
Well, I didn't.
He's fined 320 quid, this bloke.
Well, he doesn't read that, he'd get ideas.
He would.
He planted a jet aircraft at his lawn, didn't he, and raised the hackles of the local council. They had to have it removed eventually, didn't he, because it was an eyesore, apparently.
Right, hear about, listen to this. Reading racy books. Now, I don't know, we've all heard of the
Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey, yes. I don't know whether anybody's going to own up to looking at it. No. Well, actually, yes. Alan hasn't said anything, so we'll leave that one to one side.
I haven't read it, I can assure you.
Okay, good. But apparently, reading racy books like 50 Shades of Grey may be bad for young women's health, according to research.
Oh, here we go.
They are more likely to have sex with multiple partners, binge drink, suffer eating disorders, and have a lover who verbally abuses them, warn scientists. Past research has tied violent TV programmes to real-life violence and antisocial behaviour, and the reading of glamour magazines tied to an obsession with body image. True? False? Well, a lot of rubbish.
I think a lot of rubbish. That's the first research story we've had today, isn't it?
Well, it is, but regrettably, we get these sort of things that these scientists who probably spend all of their life working on this research. I don't know.
So did it tell you how they conducted this research?
Well, it was an American one, apparently, because it was a family expert, Professor Amy Bonomi.
Not a lot of baloney.
Amy Bonomi.
Michigan State. If women experienced adverse health behaviours such as disordering reading 50 Shades of Grey might reaffirm those experiences. If they read the book before experiences the health, it's a load of old rubbish.
Isn't it? Cobblers, isn't
Absolute
it? It comes to mind.
Rubbish. I wish I'd never introduced that into the programme.
One of the things, though, if you actually look at the research that's gone over a number of years, is that I used to disagree totally with Mary Whitehouse and her censorship.
Oh, grief.
But there is an issue about whether violence on TV actually translates into real life. And I don't think we've ever resolved that.
No, and I don't think we ever will. Because, unfortunately, yes, there are people that do. But again, against the other side of that argument is there are possibly people who will look at pornography on television and things like that. But then maybe not go out and commit any offences,
Yeah, well, they use pornography, don't they? In sexual therapy, don't they?
But why do we actually
Don't ask me.
Why do we link nudity and sex and, on one side, violence? Because they seem to be totally different things.
Quite right, yeah.
But the media and the way it's actually reported is always linking them together.
But you look at it, I mean, my grandson is on this Xbox thing, and they're going around, I go in his house, and he's on there talking to his mates, and they're going off down this road, and they're shooting people, and they're blowing up guns. But, I mean, that...
And what did you do as a kid? You went round as a cowboy and an Indian shooting each other?
Of course you did, yeah.
That's right.
And,
so what's the difference?
When you went to, when I went up in the woods, if you found a bit of twig, or a bit of wood, which was a gun. That was a gun, yes, so... there isn't any difference, really, but it doesn't mean to say that everybody is going to run around killing people.
Well, worse still, it's the fact that in America, you've got to be 18 or whatever, in 20 in some states, and it's a drink, yet at 5 years old, you can bear arms.
Well, the tragic case, wasn't it, last week, of that little girl,
what I didn't
6'9", wasn't it? Killed.
What I didn't understand was that she had a gun, okay.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with gun law or not, I can understand somebody teaching a young girl to shoot. What, with a Uzi?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, machine gun.
I know.
I mean, the thing is, the majority of people, and I use that statement sweepingly, have never fired a gun in their life.
I've never fired a gun in my life.
There you go. See, I mean, I have obviously been in the forces. I've fired pistols and submachine guns and machine guns.
Sorry, I've fired the clay pigeon shooting.
And I'll tell you what,
done that.
yeah, but the clay pigeon shooting actually hurts, doesn't it? Because unless
The recoil,
unless you hold it tight into your shoulder, the actual recoil, and you can think that you're holding it tight into your shoulder until you pull the trigger, and then the recoil comes, and it's not very pleasant, is
They
it?
fired an air gun.
Yeah, well, I've got a little gun at home at the moment. Which it fires little round
gun.
pellet things, BB gun.
Yeah,
that's right.
what I mean,
So
shoot
just to
pigeons,
get rid of the
yeah.
pigeons, but and it works. I don't have any more pigeons in my garden. They're all dead. No, it doesn't kill them actually.
No.
It's quite amusing because I did shoot one the other day and I got it. It was on it was trying to pinch the food from the little birds, and it sort of this pellet hit it on the back, and this pigeon sort of turned around and looked at me and said, "What do you do that for?"
Probably dollop on your car.
And then flew off. Yes, yes, I flew over my car and dumped on it. But I mean that point about we just don't give people credit for what they do we? I mean it's.
But again, you look at the statistics in those countries that have gun laws in Western Europe, where you get murders in the low double figures per year. You look at the 10,000 plus murders in the States, and it's just chalk and cheese.
But there was an ex-mayor from Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, something. He was on the local television news last night. He's got 20 months suspended sentence apparently for having an old World War II revolver at home, which he thought had been
activated.
deactivated.
What do you make of that? Do you think that he should have been punished for it? Was he likely to use it?
Well, you never know, because the thing is, I wouldn't have thought he would have been likely to use it in any shape or form, but it is a weapon in his house. And, if some little oik had got in there and discovered it, he might have gone rushing off down the road with it and killed somebody. So, and who would be to fault then? The little oik who stole the pistol or the person who had it? I don't know. And again, I think I reluctantly agree with Brian there that all we're getting is the news report on it. We're not getting we weren't in court to hear the other side of the story, as it were. So
here's one which relates to something about taxi drivers. We were talking about earlier. A taxi driver who tried to sexually assault passengers avoided jail after a judge said it was fortunate that the victim was an undercover policeman assigned to catch him. General Iqbal, 41, admitted attempted sexual assault at Burnley Crown Court, Lancashire. His 16-month sentence was suspended for 2 years. Judge Beverly Lunt said that the fact that the victim was a police officer was a criteria.
Well,
Should that have made any difference, or was it agent provocateur?
Well, we don't know, do we? Just one side of the story. Here's another, probably one side of the story as well. Wind farms get £70 million to close down, because apparently wind farm owners have been paid more than £70 million over the past 3 years not to produce electricity. So they put up these 10 wind farms and they've been paid more than £3 million each to shut down their turbines when National Grid fears too much energy will be generated, overloading the system. This is a little bit like farmers, isn't it, who get a fantastic subsidy from the EU for not doing anything with their fields.
Yes, I knew a guy in South Wales or West Wales who he didn't have a clue why he's been told to do it, but he had to grow oilseed rape.
Yes.
They did nothing with it but cut it down and chucked it.
Yep.
At the end he was getting, I don't think it's £5,000 a month or something for this.
They actually get more for not producing.
Absolutely right, which is nonsense, isn't it?
Well, if anybody understands the CAP rules, then they're a genius.
But what about these women? I mean, a friend of mine, if I mention wind farm, he says, those big turbines that you use to recharge your mobile phone, which really does infuriate me, because he doesn't obviously know what he's talking about, because the generation that these wind turbines do produce is absolutely phenomenal. There are if you've travelled around the country recently, you go to anywhere and you can't turn a corner really without seeing wind farms.
I quite like them if they're in the right place.
I love them.
They're quite nice.
Out at sea, Great Yarmouth, for instance, there's a great big field of them out there.
Well, it takes you a visit off the Yarmouth seafront, doesn't it? Which isn't particularly glamorous, is it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
What, Yarmouth seafront?
Lovely sandy beach.
Is it sand there? I thought
Yes, very much sandy.
Oh, it's pebbles.
This is when my sins come out to haunt me. When I put through my private member's bill on sustainable energy, one of the things that I did was put money into research for renewable energies. And one of them was £60 million into wind farm research. That was over a decade ago. And part of that, the growth in wind farms is a direct result of that research, which I think is a good thing. And the more renewable energy we have, the better. So to switch off wind farms is totally crazy. We ought to be using that energy far more than... Because what will happen is that the people will turn around and say, well, we've got to have fracking because we haven't got the energy.
That's right.
If we actually use renewable energies, and we're in
it.
danger of not meeting the targets that we've set ourselves that are legally binding, and that's what really annoys me, is that there's not that fundamental shift that governments talk about but never actually deliver.
Oh, and what about this? We don't use the sea enough, do we? I mean, the tides coming in and out... surely, to goodness me, they would be able to turn the turbines, turn underwater, so we wouldn't see the wind farm and anything like that. And the water movement would produce as much. No.
The problem comes if you put a barrage across various places. You actually destroy the environments of that estuary. So there are real issues about whether barrages are the right place to do it. So the whole issue of the Severn barrage creates a number of problems. However, if you could actually use it on wave motion, and there is research going into that, then that would be ideal.
I think I get really frustrated about the people who do not understand the whole complication, I think is the word, of wind farm and renewable energy, etc.
But one of the arguments that really grates me is that people say, because the wind doesn't happen all the time, therefore you shouldn't have it at all. Well, no energy source works 100% of the time. Even nuclear power is shut down for maintenance some of the time. So it is a question of let's have a whole variety of energy sources. And again, we ought to have energy in this country and not rely on gas coming from Russia.
That's right.
Absolutely right.
But
The argument about things not working all the time, of course, the classic bit of that is solar panels, because they don't work at night.
They don't need to work. They don't need to work at
So
night.
this argument about, you only get energy when the wind blows, well, yes, you do only get energy when the wind blows, but...
Well, the wind's been blowing quite a lot recently, isn't it?
You only get energy from solar panels when the sun shines, or when it's light. So what you want is to have windy nights, and then you can actually...
There are more and more solar panels going up on houses, which I think look totally unsightly.
I don't know. I think they're horrible. And these farms there, wind farm, not wind farms, solar panel farms.
Driving through Lincolnshire the other day, and I looked across, I thought, that lake's going uphill. That can't be. I looked a bit closer, and it was a field full of solar panels.
In Cornwall, I think, or so.
Last Development Control Committee, we gave permission for a solar farm out at, is it North Crawley or Emberton? I can't remember where, but somewhere out that way. And so we're going to see him in Milton Keynes.
I mean, I'm going for it. Whilst I don't like the look of them on the roofs, I would go for it tomorrow. But my wife won't let me. She says, "No, I'm not having those on the roof." And I think, well, hang on a minute, because
there's a lot of time looking at the roof, eh? Doesn't matter.
But I don't think they're that economical though to put in.
I had.
They're far more economical now than they were 20 years ago, and that's one of the real issues why there's so many. Is because the economics of it now work, whereas a few years ago they didn't.
It was a bit like a solar, like double glazing, wasn't it? You had your house double glazed, and you would save money on your fuel bills, but it would take you 30 years, to cover the cost. And of course now it's got, as you say, triple glazing, etc., etc. But I mean, it was interesting because my wife would not, when the pink sacks came out in the first instance, she refused to use them. I'm not recycling. I'm not putting stuff into. I'm putting it in the dustbin, in the black sack.
My wife is the same.
And now, I mean, we don't.
You get told off if you don't put it in the bin.
I don't put I put a black sack out probably once a month, and that is virtually half emptied anyway. Because the recycling in Milton Keynes is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Into one pink sack and the green bin. It's just. And
some councils they've got about 3 or 4 bins, haven't they?
Oh, they do. My mother had them. Yeah, my mother had them in St Albans. And there were about four black boxes, but you had to have one had to have cardboard, one had to have plastic, one had to, and the dustman would actually look inside the box, and if there was newspaper and cardboard mixed, they wouldn't take it. They just leave it. Walk away.
Do you want a horrific thought, which is that it's 25 years since Milton Keynes put through recycling as one of the first cities to do it.
25.
1989 we did it.
We had to wait for a Lib Dem administration before we got proper recycling.
That was
actually,
really cool.
I'll tell you the story of what actually happened, which was that there was a Lib Dem Tory coalition in 1989 running the council, and on the Old Tech Services Committee we knew we were going to have a temporary majority because David Taylor wasn't going to be there. So we waited for him to leave the committee after half an hour, and we put forward a proposal completely off OTT, which was that we would have a recycling system across the borough and that it would do 30% within 3 years. And we thought, well, it's going to get rescinded at the next council meeting, and it never did. We then took over the administration in the following May, and we were faced with this £1 million bill and thought, oh dear, we're hoisted on our own petard. And by one vote within the Labour group, we voted to keep it going rather than scrap it. And that was quite a salutary lesson about the when you play opportunistic politics.
Yes, that's right. But it paid off, didn't it? Because, I mean, Milton Keynes, I think, without fear of contradiction, has got one of the best recycling rates in the world.
Absolutely.
Certainly in the country.
I've been down to the recycling plant and just gone round there and watched it in operation, and it's fantastic the way they separate things out.
I've not seen it yet.
It's worth of anybody who wants to go and look at that recycling plant. They do tours, and it is well worth it.
Is it Wolverton?
So Old Wolverton, yeah.
It's a fantastic resource, and I mean we should be very proud of ourselves. We've got our landfill down to an absolute minimum. It's an excellent piece of good, and to be fair, it's fairly cross-party. There's not, it's not any particular one party. I think across the parties there's a sort of unanimous desire to carry on.
Well, that's the way Milton Keynes works. We agree on 80% of things. There's another 10% where we agree the question but not the answer, and then there's the 10% you see us arguing about.
Yeah, that's right. We got
that's 11%.
We've got very little time left, gentlemen.
Really?
I'd just like to bring in very, very swiftly, but the situation regarding e-cigarettes. Do you think it's a good idea that people should smoke e-cigarettes, and if so, should they be allowed to smoke them in public?
They should be allowed to smoke them anywhere they want. The grumpy people that are, because they've been circumvented and they don't like it. Because they now see people.
You know, it's part of the religion to get circumvented.
Oh yes, it's part of what happens. They just
smokers become circumvented.
Yeah, they make these rules. These anti-smoking people. I don't smoke. I hasten to add, but these anti-smoking people that have always got a religious fervour about actually not smoking are really fed up because they see people enjoying an artificial cigarette and it circumvents their narrow-minded. About smoking in public places.
Bigoted, I say.
Bigoted, yes.
Right, okay, there ends the lesson for today. So my thanks to my compatriots this morning.
The co-pilot. Bob Bluffield.
Brian White.
Alan Mullion.
And I'm Mike Barry, and we'll be back again next Saturday morning between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock here on seclosounds.org for another edition of The Grumpy Old Men.